The automotive industry is Britain's largest sector in terms of exports and has invested over £6 billion during the last 3 years. Vehicle sales have fully recovered back to pre-recession levels, and we expect production to grow towards 2 million vehicles in 2017. Confidence has returned, and UK suppliers are self-assured to seize a greater share of vehicle content. Jaguar Land Rover is the UK's largest premium automotive manufacturing business, built around two iconic British car brands. Land Rover, the world's leading manufacturer of premium all-wheel drive vehicles, and Jaguar, one of the world's premium luxury sports cars. The company vision: Jaguar Land Rover setting targets for 2020, which includes demonstrating leadership in sustainable business practices in all the activities across the world, creating products that meet their future customers' needs and with less environmental impact, inspiring future generations with the potential of technology, becoming a leader in sustainable social development, which improves lives in the local and global communities, to become the world's leading customer company for premium automotive products and services. The supply chain. First of all, what's a supply chain? A supply chain is a chain of suppliers that cuts across borders, drawing firms and contractors into the process of making and delivering a single product or service. So Jaguar Land Rover's supply chain. The supply chain starts with the customer, which demands products. The planning and logistics department sends bills of material to the product structure department. After this, materials are processed and stored in the raw material warehouse. The purchasing department then sends a purchase order to its suppliers. Jaguar Land Rover deals with 700 suppliers, of which 50% are in Europe, 45% in the UK, and 5% in the rest of the world. Suppliers such as Continental Automotive Systems Slovakia, which supplies brake calipers to Jaguar Land Rover. This is one of the example of the supplier of Jaguar Land Rover suppliers. After the raw materials are bought, they are sent to the manufacturing department, which assembles the cars. Jaguar Land Rover uses 12 UK ports for shipping the products, which is Southampton and Portbury, are key ports for deep sea and southern Europe. They also move around 25% of the vehicles by rail, having invested heavily in rail facilities at East Castle, Bromwich and Halewood facilities. These vehicles are then shipped to the dealers around the globe and locally, which are then supplied to the customer. The company products. The company's vehicle lineup includes 7 Jaguar and 7 Land Rover models. The Jaguar products include the XF Sport Brake, the XF, the F-Type Coupe, the F-Type Convertible, the SK, SJ, and XE. The Land Rover products include the Range Rover, the Range Rover Sport, the Defender, Freelander 2, Range Rover Evoque, and Discovery 4. The automotive industry in the United Kingdom is best known for the premium and sports cars, including Aston Martin, Bentley, Lotus, McLaren, MG, Mini, Morgan, Rolls-Royce. These are the competitors of Jaguar Land Rover in the UK. Driving the business is a world-class team of 32,000 people globally. In addition, they support more than 210,000 UK jobs through the supply chain, dealer network, and wider economy. Jaguar Land Rover's UK operations take place at 5 locations, with 3 vehicle manufacturing plants, 2 in the West Midlands at the Castle, Bromwich and Solihull, and 1 in Halewood, and 2 advanced design and engineering centres at Gaydon and Whitley in the Midlands. Whitley, Coventry is the headquarters of Jaguar Land Rover. It is from these 5 sites that Jaguar Land Rover currently produces the range of vehicles that sell in over 170 countries. Jaguar Land Rover sold a total of 434,311 cars, which is a 16% increase on the 425,006 record sales it achieved in 2013. Revenues for the group came in 19.4 billion for each year to 2014, which compares with 15.8 billion in its 2013 figures. Profit before tax rose from 1.7 billion in 2013 to 2.5 billion in 2014. As you can see, I've included the SWOT analysis, the KPI as a competitor analysis and special analysis for Jaguar Land Rover on the top of the slide.
Business continuity planning. The business continuity plan is an essential part of Jaguar Land Rover response planning. It sets out how Jaguar Land Rover will operate following an incident and how it is going to return to the original state in the quickest possible time. In the business continuity plan, there are 4 key steps for Jaguar Land Rover to consider. That is, identify risk assessment, business impact analysis, create strategy and development plan, and finally measure. Disaster management aims to reduce or avoid the potential losses from hazards. Jaguar Land Rover will help to have this in place, help customers/employees from their disaster. Crisis management. Crisis management is a process by which Jaguar Land Rover deals with a sudden emergency situation. Jaguar Land Rover should have time and resources to complete a crisis management plan before they experience a crisis. Crisis management often includes a strong focus on public relations to recover any damage to public image and assure stakeholders that recovery is underway. When using disaster management, there are certain risks which come with it. First, it will cost a lot of money. This is money which Jaguar Land Rover may see as wasted money, as they could decide to spend their money in different aspects of the business, e.g. marketing. But next is very time consuming. This means Jaguar Land Rover will have to employ a certain amount of people to create the plan, also manage it on a weekly/monthly/yearly basis. Jaguar Land Rover would surely rather employ people who could be important to the business rather than just employ them to focus on one particular task. As the graph at the bottom shows, nearly 50% of companies without a plan said that developing a business continuity strategy wasn't a high priority in their business. 25% of businesses believe that they won't experience a major disaster. Of the companies that did have a business continuity plan, 27% hadn't reviewed or evaluated those plans within the past year, and 19% hadn't tested them within the past 5 years. Compliance. Compliance is a business concern for Jaguar Land Rover. This is because of the increased number of regulations that Jaguar Land Rover have to comply by. They have to maintain a full understanding of their regulatory compliance requirements. ISO and Corbett are all potential part of the best practice approach to regularity and corporate government compliance. The challenge for Jaguar Land Rover is to establish a coordinated, integrated framework that draws on all 3 of these standards. The joint framework is a good starting place for them. ISO. ISO is an independent, non-governmental international organisation with a membership of 162 national standard bodies. Through its members, it brings together experts to share knowledge and develop voluntary, conscience-based, market-relevant international standards that supports innovation and provides solutions to global challenges. With using the company like Daisy Group, they offer 5 steps. The first is advising Land Rover through change, help keep Land Rover run sufficiently when problems arise, supporting all members of staff, offer flexible services, make sure all critical data is safe but viewable for Land Rover at all times. These are all valuable attributes that can help Jaguar Land Rover when doing a business continuity plan.
Today I'll be talking about business impact analysis and risk assessments. There are 2 different types of risk assessments that you can have. One which is a business risk assessment and a general risk assessment is the other. Now in the first slide we're going to be looking at business impact analysis. As you can see here, there is a template of a risk assessment which is used in business continuity, identifying natural, facility, personal, operational and technological and social threats to a company and how they could prevent this and reduce mitigation of this to happen in the first place. Here you can see that there is a model which gives you 5 different steps. The first step is to identify the risk factor, who can be harmed and how, evaluate the risk, record your findings and monitor and review. This is a cycle that the company would use to identify its risks. It gives a clear indication and the steps to provide the company to move forward to help prevent risks and reduce risks as best as they can. As you can see here, I have created a risk assessment. As mentioned earlier, I created a risk assessment, and this risk assessment is something called a general risk assessment. There is also something called the business risk assessments. The difference between the 2 is that general risk assessment identifies a specific exposure that may authorize further protective measures. It shows you the measures from low, medium and high level risks. A business risk assessment shows you and it identifies actually the coverage and the exposure of the actual risk itself. So it gives you a critical level of coverage. Now, as you can see here, the table, it has what are the hazards of threats, who might be harmed and how, what are they already doing, and do you need to do anything else to control the risk, and who it is actioned by. Now you can see that we've placed operational risks, fire and rescue, tactical espionage, server disconnection and theft. Now the red symbolizes the high level of risk and how important it is to get an RTO, which is the recovery time objective, to the actual risk itself. But the whole point of this actually is to reduce the risk. Reducing risk is a key thing when it comes to business continuity. In the actual risk assessment itself, these risks are purely based on BIA business impact analysis. They give and set a stage for developing business continuity and how it works. It plays a massive role in the security of the business and how much time you can save by having it, and which is what we call the RTO. Jaguar Land Rover faced a massive explosion in Tianjin in China. Over 6,000 cars were destroyed in this devastating blast, which happened in China, leading to hundreds of millions of pounds worth of destruction and damage, and the lives of 114 people being taken. From reports, there was a warehouse in the area which contained a lot of explosive chemicals, holding mainly nitrate, potassium, and also calcium carbide. This was at the time of the blast. They had firefighters in place, but at the time there were thunderstorms which led the fire to go on for longer when the blast happened. No one could gain access to the site as soon as possible because of the thunderstorms and heavy panic of people rushing out from the area. Jaguar Land Rover had recovered the costs of the damage which took place to the innocent lives because the company got impacted by 4%. They wanted to make sure that employees, anyone who was linked with them and worked with them, would be recovered to try and compensate them to the best of their ability. Tata Motor Industries were massively affected, which goes to show at this point in time they had no RTO in plan. The cargo that held the cars actually caused a massive destruction where the warehouse was, and Jaguar Land Rover got affected by it. They then compensated everyone, and the fire services got there as soon as possible. When this did happen, Jaguar Land Rover had to overview and review their business continuity plan, as it didn't work out for them at this point.
JLR has many assets to its IT infrastructure. A lot of it is kept under wraps because of industry, but what we do know is that JLR has three systems: computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and engineering. So these three systems were used to design cars. There were three separate systems. But in 2013, they were announced to undergo a redesign where these three systems would come into one. So you would have a single point of contact for car design overall. JLR also has a legacy infrastructure using 1,700 applications. It uses SAP software, which is the largest business software company in the world, and the third largest independent software provider in terms of revenues. Another system that JLR has is within its cars. The engine control unit controls air, fuel ratio, ignition timing, things like that. So then it determines the emissions of the car as well as the power of the car. JLR is huge, it's a huge company. So scalability in the systems is really key. So in turn, JLR now uses cloud computing. The specific details were hard to find, but changing the way JLR works by introducing cloud computing introduces a resistance to change by JLR workers. JLR has moved its desktop infrastructure into Google's cloud in 2010, and some of the backend is now hosted in Amazon Web Services. It has also introduced a service-oriented architecture that is a data virtualization layer to create a virtual data warehouse. Having a business continuity plan gives you peace of mind, knowing what to do if something ever went wrong in a company. It's specific to each department, so other departments can carry on doing their job if they are unaffected. It also minimizes the loss of data and money when losing data if you ever had a data breach, and it also makes you internationally compliant with ISO 22301. You're probably wondering right now, how dangerous are cyber attacks? The largest attack so far has been an email worm, which allowed hackers to take over other people's systems. It was a virus called MyDoom, and it cost industry £25.6 billion. This shows how powerful cyber attacks can be and the potential impacts on business. An independent report by IBM a report by Perelman Institute published a white paper in June 2015 and stated some of the impacts of business continuity plans and what they had on business. It reported a 9% reduction in the cost of losing one data record, a 27% reduction in the average time to identify a data breach, a 41% reduction in the average time to contain a data breach, and an overall 28% decrease in the likelihood of a data breach over the next 2 years. This report concludes having a business continuity plan will directly increase the integrity of business for JLR as a company. After understanding the issues around business continuity plans, as a team, we must add that reputation in business is very important. So if you look in 2015, Volkswagen, with their emission scandal, reported losses of £2.5 billion, and TalkTalk, after they got hacked, have only started to estimate the costs relating to the incident and have estimated currently £35 million. To conclude, as a company as large as JLR should have a business continuity plan. With so many departments doing different things, there is such a high chance that business critical departments could go down, affecting the business as a whole, causing damage to JLR's reputation. So as a team, business continuity in terms of price can be quickly overcome with a company as financially sound as JLR. IT infrastructure is a combination of hardware, software, network resources, services required for the existence, operation, and management of the business IT environment. In terms of JLR, all of its infrastructure is UK based. They try to expand globally, but doing this in a traditional way would mean a higher risk of losing intellectual property. So instead, JLR implemented virtualization. It provides global unlimited access to its workers around the world, while the UK IT team stays in complete control. It continues to host all of its data in UK data centers, but provides access to global engineers by provisioning virtual machines.
I'm going to talk about formulation of strategy. Jack and Land Rover need to make sure that they have a disaster recovery plan for consider a business impact analysis, develop a recover strategy, and identify preventive controls, plan training and testing, plan maintenance, and AFI framework, including the 3 stages, which is study, formulate, and implement, which is got 4 stages as well. Ensure the states and external and internal studies and business or corporate strategy formulation and implement. The benefits shows that the process is an activity. Separate issues started from the internal and external study. Stress the main focus of the strategy management. The drawback is does not include in the strategy monitor stage and error indicate only one-way process. For example, after strategy formulation, the process continues to the implement stage. While this is not always true, companies may go back and reassess the situation if some condition has changed. There is 2 famous examples of the problem that may be affected for Jack and Land Rover. The first one is counterfeit. To prevent this, Jack and Land Rover need to make a good security working and developers a legal advanced team to protect for copycat. This problem probably happens every time when Jack and Land Rover produce a new car. And for the short-term recovery for counterfeit could be reported to the local law agents to ask for a protection. In long-term recovery, the new product should be processed on the security workings and keeping all the data safe to prevent hackings. The second example is industry action. To prevent this, Jack and Land Rover firstly to set down the strikers and do not expect for affect the person point of view for the whole company. On the other hand, to contrast the recruitment to avoid production loss caused by employer strikers, and this problem probably happens once a year. For the short-term recover for industry action should be contrast the leader of the strikers make the deal with them to let them back to work as soon as possible. In long term, make a good communication between the manager and the employees. Should understand the needs of the employees and try to strike a balance between the owner and the staffs.